Now, this little development might help out Universal in its transportation game. Very, very fascinating story here. From Universal Parks Today. Rumor, Universal Orlando Resort and Elon Musk developing Florida tunnel transit system. Universal is reportedly working with Elon Musk to build transportation tunnels in Central Florida. According to the Orlando Business Journal, local Orlando business leaders have heard rumblings that Musk's The Boring Company and Universal are working together to create tunnels like the Las Vegas Convention Center Loop for cars. Texas-based The Boring Company, founded by Musk in 2017, created the Vegas Loop, a series of underground public transit tunnels in Las Vegas, Nevada. One of OBJ's sources is Maria Trascari, president and CEO of the International Drive Resort Area Chamber of Commerce. She has heard about a, quote, Vegas Loop-like project being developed for Orlando and believes it will happen. It's definitely been in the talks because we want to be a cut above the rest, and that's the type of thing that needs to happen. And that's the kind of people that we have on the iDrive corridor, the visionaries. They're just so forward-thinking, said Trascari. Joshua Wallach, owner of Mango's Tropical Cafe on iDrive, has also heard the rumors and supports the potential project. It's out there in the real estate community. Boring is looking at the whole iDrive district, basically having the Orange County Convention Center to Epic Universe on a loop. And they have a broker in the market looking for properties right now and actively speaking to property owners, said Wallach. This is quite fascinating because, we do have the, dedicated bus loop that goes from Epic Universe over to Universal's Orlando resort proper, right, with Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure. But to take these things underground, I think is, it's enormously ambitious. We've not seen many of these projects actually make their way in other cities across the U.S., but again, it is developing technology and developing kind of a construction project here. Guys, your thoughts on this particular story?
I'm trying to figure out how this works with the water table. That's all. I mean, it's that's
Florida. The big question. Yes,
I live here and we flood all the time.
The other question is, let's say they could do it, which I'm not convinced that they could. But if they somehow were able to do something like this, would it be just transportation, or would this be themed like the Hogwarts Express? Because that's currently what's missing between Epic Universe and the main campus, which Universal is going to have to either let us all know how they refer to the two campuses here. If one is Epic and the other is Universal Orlando Resort, but I think they would like to call them all that. Will they be able to put something in there that is akin to the Flu Network or some other themed passageway between the two? If they can make it a green warp pipe, that's even better.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be very interesting indeed, right? Green warp pipe. Yeah. Yep. Go into the other sides and so forth. Go ahead, please.
I think that as long as they have a firm amount of limestone bed, I don't see why this wouldn't work. The route that you take in Vegas, there's a few places there you can do this, and it's very quick. I'm very excited actually for that kind of a thing, and I think that Jonas is onto something. If you make this a green warp pipe, you're gonna set everybody off. I mean, it's gonna be great, and you're gonna. I see it working. I think you could even do park to park, through a tunnel network. I think that would be, like literally from inside the park to another park. I think that, there are a few spots that are open at Islands of Adventure, but there's more open at the original park. And I have a feeling that you could build one of these tunnel networks rather easily. I'd love to see that. But anyway, those are my thoughts. I would love to see this, and I would love to ride in it. So
it would be amazing, but it does sound like it's encompassing, or at least they want to encompass more than just the Universal Parks. If they're talking about the convention center and possibly transportation for iDrive, which is horribly congested anytime anything is going on here. And now you've got iDrive and Universal, then John Young Parkway is the next one over, the big one. Just thinking about traffic to Epic Universe. They're bringing so much in. And here's the thing. I think they're also looking at future Epic Universe traffic, because there's a lot more on the docket that's about to go into Epic Universe. They're going to increase capacity. I think that there's probably going to be some type of a Universal City Walk type shopping center added to that property over there. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of land still available at Epic to build on. So they definitely need to do something, because right now, I mean, I think of my wait time just to get into SeaWorld the other day when I got stuck in that traffic, and just going into SeaWorld took me 30 minutes sitting in traffic from a light that's only 1 block away from the entrance to SeaWorld to the toll booth to pay for SeaWorld. 30 minutes is kind of crazy. So I hope they're able to do all of this. It would be fantastic.
There's one more aspect I want to bring up real quick.
Please.
We've often pointed out that the Walt Disney of the past, as in the man himself, loved to hobnob with the brightest intellectual minds of the day to try to pull some of their star power into the parks. Elon Musk and his ideas of a hopeful future and being able to go to Mars and all that, some of it can come off a little dystopian here or there, but the fact that Elon Musk is working, the rumor, I need to reemphasize, this is a rumor, the rumor that Elon Musk is working with Universal as opposed to Disney trying to do some kind of Tesla themed attraction at one of their parks. I think that's fascinating. The changes in how Disney has handled its formerly future-facing aesthetics.
I couldn't agree more. Well, I'll say this. You're right about that, in the sense that, like, when they were building Epcot, everybody that they went to reach out to be a part of it, because it was going to be the future. And then when Epcot, I know you guys know this, culture knows this, we were all there as kids, right? Epcot was this incredibly hopeful, futuristic place you walked into, and there was such a different type of a magic about it. And I think maybe to young boys at the time more than anybody else, which I was one of, when you saw the computer bay, remember, like, going to the Communicore and seeing the computer bay down there, and making your own roller coaster on a computer, like all of the FaceTime stuff, all of that. And that's because of who the Walt Disney Company was willing to work with, which was still an offshoot at that time of Walt himself. And now it's the reverse. They've turned Walt into the robot, and they don't want help from the outside.
That's very well said.
I wanted to go ahead and add some additional information that I wasn't able to include in the initial recording of this segment, but I thought it was very important to bring up. This by Theme Park Wizard, interestingly enough, from his specific website, which I'll go ahead and provide a link down below. Universal Orlando is looking to partner with Elon Musk on an underground tunnel, but here's why that's a horrible idea. And this is outside the very high water table in the Orlando area. You scroll down right here. This is a very bad idea, and I'm going to tell you all the reasons it should not happen. Universal is likely going down this route of transportation because it seems relatively cheap compared to a monorail or a people mover system. Unfortunately, though, that is just a mirage. The Boring Company proposed many of these types of systems, and many have been over budget or didn't happen at all in the case of one proposed in Los Angeles. They do have a test tunnel in Hawthorne, but they had plans for one through the central city before the plans got rejected. The system in Vegas has also been tracking up safety violations. The system is also low capacity and very slow. Universal needs a big capacity system like a train or monorail, like at Walt Disney World, to shuttle people between the north and south campuses. And honestly, their current bus system will be faster and more efficient than a Boring Company loop system. This is a very interesting opinion provided by Theme Park Wizard for a variety of reasons, because, well, this is kind of what he does. This is, I don't want to reveal too much information about Theme Park Wizard, but he knows transportation. I can just go ahead and put it that way. And I do agree that this does have capacity constraints under its current form of operation, at least when it comes to Vegas, that is. And I think this would have to be expanded out, and operationally might have to change in order to keep up with the huge demand that comes from a theme park resort operation. However, I will say, I think this is being explored for a couple of reasons, especially in the Orlando area, because the feasibility of this is one thing, but the feasibility of a monorail is something else entirely. And I think people really do underestimate the feasibility of a monorail type system in the Orlando area. They look at Walt Disney World and they go, well, just go ahead and expand that. And it's like, well, that's not very easy or achievable to do, especially in various places around Orlando, because a lot of places just simply don't lend themselves to providing for the footholds that you need for the monorail. Interestingly enough, Ron talked about this earlier in this video, actually, about the formation of Epcot and the building of Epcot. Well, the Epcot site is something that Harrison Buzz Price himself, the person who was part of the dynamic duo between him and C.V. Wood, decide where Disneyland would eventually be located out there in Anaheim. Harrison Buzz Price worked with Disney Company on a multitude of projects, including the Project X or Florida site, to determine where everything should be strategically located. And he was very much against the idea of where Epcot was, and that was right in the middle of the property. Even though Walt had decided that's where it was going to be, feasibility-wise, it just did not lend itself to construction. And, well, Epcot has had a series of problems that guests have experienced, like the destruction of Horizons, for example, but also, too, when they were building Epcot, it was very, very interesting. They would put down these monorail pylons with the expectation that they would surround Spaceship Earth and so forth, and they would just, the next morning after putting those down, they'd be gone because they would be lost in the very unstable soil there in that particular location. And I think, when you look at the costs associated with it and so forth, that's why Walt Disney World hasn't necessarily increased that form of transportation throughout its own resort, much less another theme park proprietor in the form of Universal getting into this. I just don't really see that becoming a reality, to be quite honest with you. I think this, as unlikely as it might seem, might be more feasible depending on where they actually place this. And that high water table, that's going to be the main thing here if you're looking to utilize this tunnel framework for something out there on the East Coast. That's not to be joked around with. That's not to be messed around with. There's a reason why Magic Kingdom itself sits on the second floor rather than the first, is because the utilidors that provide for the transportation network underneath that theme park, well, they simply couldn't be provided for if it was below that water table there. So very, very interesting stuff. Fascinating story. Definitely wanted to go ahead and bring it to your attention. It is still in rumor and speculation mode, but I think we'll be hearing much more from Universal as time allows. I think they want multiple transportation options between their North Campus and South Campus, that being kind of Universal proper and Epic Universe itself. In this way, this would occupy the kind of southern region or the Epic Universe portion as it connects to the Orlando Convention Center. But expect more from Universal in this regard, because they're going to be growing and aggressively in the coming years. Make sure you like and subscribe to That Park Place. We appreciate your support dearly. And make sure you bookmark the website, as we're coming out with amazing content every single day. Until next time, for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.